The monster in chains. The sky above planet Siron was always dark. Thick black clouds covered the stars, and nothing ever moved except the strong wind. Deep below the surface, inside a secret underground lab, there was a prison cell. Cold, silent, forgotten by most. Inside that cell, she was chained. Her name was Selah, but no one called her by name anymore. They just called her the monster. She sat alone in the dark, heavy silver chains around her arms, legs, and neck. The chains glowed with blue lights. They were made from star metal, impossible to break. Her eyes glowed softly in the dark, like moons. Her skin was pale and smooth, almost shining. She looked like a child, but the guards knew better. "She's dangerous," the captain always said. "She's not one of us. She's a threat to the galaxy." But Selah never spoke. She never moved. She just sat, watching the wall, day after day. She had been there for years. Above ground, the sky rumbled. A loud explosion shook the surface. Sirens began to wail. A ship was crashing. Fast. It tore through the clouds and hit the ground miles away with a deafening boom. The guards didn't care. They stayed in their control room, laughing. "Just another unlucky traveler," one said. "This planet eats them alive." They didn't know that something had changed. The man's name was Jason Hale. He was human, a pilot from Earth. He wasn't supposed to be here. His ship had been pulled off course by a strange signal. He tried to escape, but it was too late. Now his ship was broken, his leg was hurt, and he was alone. He walked through the strange landscape, cold wind cutting his face. His eyes burned from the dust, but he kept going. He saw the entrance to the underground lab, half buried in rocks. He pushed open the door and stepped inside. It was dark, cold, silent. He moved slowly, limping down the metal stairs. Lights flickered, pipes hissed. He found empty rooms, broken screens, long halls filled with shadows. Then he heard it, a voice, but not with his ears. "Help me." Jason stopped. He looked around. "Who's there?" he said. No answer. He kept walking, deeper into the base. The voice came again. "Please, I don't want to die here." It wasn't just in his head. It felt like it was touching his soul. Jason reached a locked door with bright warning signs. "Danger, high CQRT, do not enter." He hesitated. Then he heard the voice once more, softer, sadder. "They said I'm a monster, but I'm just different." Jason took a deep breath and opened the door. The room inside was huge, like an arena. In the middle, under a spotlight, was the girl. She was sitting, chained, not moving. Jason stepped forward, stunned. She looked so young, so calm, but the energy in the room made his skin tingle. Something about her felt powerful. He didn't know why, but he walked closer. Her eyes opened. Golden light shined from them. "You're not afraid," she said quietly, her voice echoing inside his mind. Jason shook his head. "Who are you?" "My name is Selah," she said. "They locked me here because I was born different. I didn't hurt anyone. I just exist." Jason looked at the chains. They were tight. Her wrists were bruised. She was trembling. He felt anger rising in his chest. "You don't deserve this." "You're the first person to say that," she whispered. He knelt beside her and touched the chains. They were warm, humming with energy. "I'll get you out," he said. "No," she said quickly. "If you try, they'll kill you." "I don't care." Far above, in the control room, alarms suddenly lit up. Unauthorized entry detected. Cell 9 breached. Guards jumped to their feet. Someone opened the monster's door. The captain growled, "Send the kill droids. Now." Back in the cell, Selah looked at Jason with wide eyes. "They're coming." Jason stood up. "Then we don't have much time." He pulled out a small tool from his belt and started working on the chain locks. Sparks flew. One by one, the locks began to weaken. Sheila closed her eyes. A soft glow surrounded her. Jason felt warmth spread through his body. His pain faded. His fear disappeared. "You're healing me," he whispered. "I want to help," she said. Suddenly, the walls shook. The door behind them burst open. Black machines rolled in, kill droids with red eyes and long metal arms. Jason stood in front of her, holding a broken pipe like a weapon. "I'm not letting them hurt you again." The human who listened. The red lights flashed like fire. Sirens screamed across the dark halls of the underground base. Kill droids rolled forward with sharp metal arms, scanning for one target, the girl in chains. But Jason didn't move. He stood between Sheila and the machines, holding only a broken pipe. He didn't know why he cared so much. She wasn't human. She wasn't even from his world. But something in her eyes, something in her voice, felt more human than anything he'd seen in this cold galaxy. And right now, she was terrified. Jason tightened his grip. "I won't let them take you," he said. Sheila sat behind him, weak but glowing faintly. "Jason, please don't die for me." One of the droids raised a plasma arm. Jason braced himself. Suddenly, the lights blinked off. Darkness swallowed the room. The droids paused. Then, a bright pulse of light exploded from Sheila's chest. Not fire, not destruction, but light that bent, light that twisted. The machines turned and froze. To them, the room was empty. They no longer saw Jason. They no longer saw Sheila. One by one, they rolled away, confused. Jason turned, shocked. What did you do?" "I bent the light around us," Sheila whispered, trembling. "An illusion. But I can't hold it for long." Jason quickly worked on the chains, using a fusion tool from his belt. The last lock hissed, then popped open. Her body fell forward. Jason caught her in his arms. She was so light, so fragile. But her heartbeat, it pulsed like a star. They moved through the tunnels, slowly, carefully. Jason guided her, but she could barely walk. Every step looked painful. "They drained me," she whispered. "Every day, they pulled energy from me to power their systems." Jason felt his jaw tighten. "That's torture." "I was just a child when they took me," she said. "My powers woke up. And they got scared." They reached a broken elevator shaft. Jason looked up. "It's a long way out." "We don't have time," she said. "They'll track us." Jason pulled a grappling wire from his gear. "I'll go first. Hold tight." He wrapped his arms around her and shot the wire. It latched high above. With effort, he pulled them up, inch by inch. The walls shook again. More guards, more machines. They had to move. They reached the top, gasping for breath. Jason pushed open a hatch and stepped into the wind. The sky was still dark. His ship, badly damaged, was nearby, half buried in the dirt. The hull was cracked. Smoke rose from the back. Sheila stared at it. "That's your ship?" "Yeah," Jason said. "Not pretty, but it's ours now." He carried her inside and laid her down in the co-pilot seat. Lights blinked weakly. The engine made a soft cough. "No power," he said, frustrated. "Core's dead." Sheila touched the panel with shaking fingers. "I can charge it," she said. Jason knelt beside her. "No, you're barely standing." "I can do it," she insisted. "Just hold my hand." He took her hand gently. She closed her eyes. Light spread from her fingers, slow at first, then brighter. The ship's panels lit up one by one. The engine began to hum. But her body started to tremble. Her skin grew paler. Jason held her tighter. "Stop," he said. "You're hurting yourself." But she didn't stop. She gave everything she had. The ship roared to life. Jason pulled the controls. They lifted off, Slowly, heavily, but they lifted. From the base below, energy cannons fired. Jason dodged hard, flying low across the rocky surface. Selah slumped beside him, breathing fast. "You did it," he said. "We're flying." She gave a weak smile. "Told you, I could help." Jason looked back. The base was getting smaller. The stars were ahead, but something else was in his chest now. Not just relief. Guilt. Because he didn't know how long she had left. Hours passed as they drifted through space. Jason patched the controls with tape and wires. He sent out distress signals, but no one answered. Selah slept in the back, wrapped in a blanket. He watched her, thinking, who would lock up someone like her? Someone kind, someone gentle. Why were they so afraid? He didn't know much about alien politics, but he knew this. They were wrong about her. And maybe the galaxy needed to know that. She opened her eyes softly. Jason walked over. "How are you feeling?" "Like a dying sun," she said, trying to smile. "I don't know where to go," Jason admitted. "No safe planets nearby. Not for us." She touched his arm. "There is a place, a human research base. Old. Hidden. I saw it in their minds once. Coordinates." She closed her eyes, then whispered numbers. Jason entered them into the console. The ship turned. Hours later, the ship landed on a cold, gray moon. Ruins of buildings stood in silence. Jason helped Selah outside. They entered the base. Dust, silence, rusted metal. But deep inside, they found something incredible. A human data core, still working. Jason connected it. The screen lit up. Project Starseed, Phase 4, Post-Human Evolution Trials. Selah stared. This is what they feared," she whispered. Jason read slowly. Long ago, humans had found strange children born near dying stars. Children who could bend light, time, and energy. The project had been shut down. The children vanished. But Selah, she was one of them. Not a monster. Not an accident. She was the future. Jason turned to her. "You're not alone," he said. Her eyes filled with tears. "You're the first person who ever said that," she whispered. Escaped through fire. The cold wind howled outside the old human research base. Dust blew across the broken walls like silent ghosts. But deep underground, something had awakened. Jason stared at the glowing screen, the words still burning in his mind. Project Starseed, Post-Human Evolution Trials. Children born under dying stars. Children with light in their blood. Children like Selah. He turned to look at her. She was sitting on the floor, pale, breathing slow, her back against the wall. Her eyes, once so bright, were now dim. She had given too much to power the ship. Her body looked smaller now, like light was leaking out of her soul. "You were never a monster," Jason said softly. "You're a miracle." She didn't answer. She was slipping away. Jason jumped into action. He searched the lab, opening old crates, breaking open storage pods. Dust flew into the air as he ripped through the past, hoping to save the future. And then, he found it. A silver pod labeled STRSEED Emergency Core. Biocharge Unite. He carried it to her and opened the pod. Inside was a glowing capsule. Pure energy made for her kind. Jason knelt beside Selah and gently pressed the capsule to her chest. A soft light flowed into her. At first, nothing. Then, her fingers twitched. Then, her chest lifted with a full breath. Then, her eyes opened. And for the first time in hours, she smiled. Outside, the sound of engines echoed through the thin atmosphere. The alien guards had tracked them. Dropships landed. Metal boots slammed into the dirt. Drones swarmed the sky. They were surrounded. Jason looked out the window. He counted at least 50 soldiers, all armed, all coming straight toward them. Back underground, Selah stood slowly. The light in her eyes had returned. Stronger, brighter. Jason noticed something new. Her hair shimmered like stardust. Her skin glowed with a faint blue hue. She was changing, becoming what she was always meant to be. "They'll kill us," Jason said, "unless we run." Selah nodded. "Then let's make them chase stars." They moved quickly through the base's lower tunnels. Jason had found a back exit that led into the moon's rocky canyon system. But the enemy was fast. Drones flew overhead, scanning. Explosions shook the ground as the guards dropped bombs near the base. "We don't have much time," Jason shouted. Selah stopped suddenly. She closed her eyes. Her body began to glow brighter. "What are you doing?" Jason asked, turning around. "I'm sending out a signal," she said. "Not for help, for a warning." She raised her hands. The rocks around them began to shift. Jason stepped back, stunned. She was moving the terrain with her mind. The cliffs twisted. The path behind them closed. Back at the base, the guards reached the entrance. The leader, a tall alien in black armor, stepped forward. "Find the starseed," he growled. "Bring her back alive. Kill the human." They entered the base, but something was wrong. It was empty. Then a loud boom shook the floor. Explosions rippled through the base. Jason had triggered the self-destruct system. Meanwhile, Jason and Selah ran through narrow canyons, dodging falling rocks and drone fire. Selah turned once and lifted her hand. A bright beam of light shot from her palm, slicing a drone in half. Jason was amazed. "You never told me you could do that." "I didn't know I could," she said. "But something inside me is waking up." Another explosion in the distance lit the sky red. The base was gone. Jason looked back. "They're not going to stop." Selah looked up. "Then neither can we." They reached the edge of a deep cliff. Far below was a narrow river of glowing liquid, something ancient and powerful. Jason looked around. Now what? Before she could answer, a small scout ship flew over the edge, blocking their path. The black-armored alien stepped out, the same one who had ordered her chained. "Selah," he hissed, "you cannot run forever." She stood still, calm. "I'm not running anymore." Jason stepped in front of her. "Touch her, and I swear." The alien laughed. "You're a weak, lost human. She's more dangerous than you can understand." Jason didn't blink. "She's not dangerous. She's different. And that scares you." The alien raised his weapon. But before he could shoot, Selah stepped forward. She raised both hands. Her body lifted off the ground. Wind swirled. Lights surrounded her. Her voice was soft, but powerful. "I'm not afraid of you anymore." The alien fired. A blast of red light flew toward her. But it never touched her. It hit a wall of light, a shield made of pure energy. Selah didn't move. Then, she unleashed her power. A wave of blue and gold light swept out in all directions. The alien screamed as he was thrown back into the ship. The ship cracked, burned, and crashed into the rocks. Silence returned. Jason looked at her in awe. Selah floated down gently, her glow fading just a bit. Jason stepped forward. "Are you okay?" She nodded, though tears rolled down her cheeks. "I didn't want to hurt him," she said, "but I had to protect us." Jason placed a hand on her shoulder. "You didn't just protect us," he said. "You showed them what true power looks like. Not hate, not fear, but control, grace, strength." That night, they camped near the glowing river. Jason patched up his tools. Selah watched the stars. "I was born different," she said quietly. "And they tried to break me." Jason looked at her. "They failed." She smiled. And for the first time in her life, she believed it. The price of freedom. The stars were quiet that night. Jason sat beside a small fire, its orange glow flickering against the rocks. Sela lay just a few feet away, her eyes half open, watching the flames dance. She had saved them. She had fought back. But now, she looked like she was fading again. Jason added more scraps of broken tech to the fire, trying to keep her warm. His mind was racing. They had escaped the prison, defeated the hunters, crashed the enemy ship, burned down the base. But what now? They were still alone on a dead moon, far from any help. The ship was damaged beyond repair, and Sela, his only friend out here, was losing strength fast. She hadn't spoken much since the blast, and when she did, her voice was distant, like she was already halfway to another world. Jason pulled out a small recorder from his belt. He played back a piece of the starseed file he found in the lab. Phase 4 subjects show incredible potential, like manipulation, mental communication, even cellular healing. But all carry a cost. The more they use their powers, the faster their bodies decay. They burn bright, and then they burn out. He paused the recording. Jason stared at Sela. No, he thought. There has to be a way. Suddenly, her voice broke the silence. Jason. He turned quickly. Yeah, I'm here. She looked up at the stars. Her eyes shimmered with starlight. Have you ever felt like you don't belong anywhere? Jason took a breath. All the time. Sela gave a weak smile. I was born on a world that feared light. They worship darkness, control, order. Anything different is dangerous to them. So when I started glowing, they didn't see a child. They saw a weapon. Jason sat beside her. I know what it's like to be treated like you're something you're not, he said. On Earth, they called me a failure, said I'd never fly, that I wasn't good enough. But you did fly, she whispered. Yeah, he said, and I found you. Suddenly, a faint beeping echoed from the wreckage of the old base's scanning tower nearby. Jason ran toward it, climbed inside, and wiped dust off a cracked monitor. A blinking green signal. A ship. Nearby. Moving fast. Jason's heart jumped. He raced back to Sela. There's a ship, he said. Could be friendly. Could be worse. Either way, we have to move. Sela tried to sit up, but her legs gave out. Jason caught her. I'll carry you. He placed her in a broken hover sled and pulled it through the rocky trail. The wind howled louder now, sharp like knives. His arms burned. His feet dragged. But he didn't stop. She had carried him with her light. Now he would carry her with everything he had. After hours, they'd reached the edge of a large crater. In the center, half covered in dust, was a hidden launch pad. And parked there was a ship. But not just any ship. It had the Earth emblem on its side. Human-made. Jason felt a spark of hope. They climbed aboard carefully. The ship was old, but it still had power. Dusty panels lit up. Jason checked the systems. It had fuel, oxygen, working navigation. It could fly. Sela looked around, surprised. How is this here? Jason tapped into the logs. This was an old Earth scout ship, part of the original Starseed mission, abandoned decades ago after the project was shut down. But before leaving, someone had left it hidden here. Like they knew someone would need it one day. Jason got the engines ready. The hum of power brought life to the dark interior. But as he prepared for launch, Sela touched his arm. I can't come with you. He turned, shocked. What? She looked down. I'm too weak. If I leave this moon's energy field, my body won't survive. Jason shook his head. No, we'll find another core. We'll get help. You can't give up now. I'm not giving up, she said softly. I'm telling you the truth. Tears welled in Jason's eyes. He had fought so hard to save her. She had lit up the dark for him, and now she was slipping away again. Then something changed. The ship's scanner beeped again. A second ship was arriving. Not human. Enemy. Jason looked at her. We fight together, or we die together." She closed her eyes, then nodded. As the enemy ship landed outside, Jason prepared the human vessel for launch. It would take time to warm the engines. Selah stood, barely steady. Jason handed her a small charge blade. "Think you can still shine?" he asked. She gave a faint smile. Just enough. The door to the human ship burst open. Dark figures stormed in. Jason fought with all he had: punches, kicks, tools turned into weapons. Selah raised her hands and bent light around them again, creating copies of Jason to confuse the attackers. But the strain showed on her face. She coughed hard, blood on her lips. Jason caught her. "No more," he said. "You've done enough." She looked into his eyes. "No, you listened to me. You believed in me. That gave me something no one else ever gave me." "What's that?" "Hope." With her last ounce of energy, she placed her hand on the ship's core. Light poured from her one last time. And then, the ship launched, blasting into the sky. Jason screamed her name as the moon grew smaller behind him. She was still there, glowing like a star. And then, she was gone. Hours later, Jason sat alone in the quiet ship. He held a glowing crystal in his hand. The ship's systems had scanned her last energy burst and stored it. Not just data, but something alive. She was not gone. She had become something else. A spark, a seed, a starseed. And Jason, he made a promise. He would return. He would find others like her. And he would tell the galaxy the truth. She was never a monster. She was a beginning. The truth they hid. The ship drifted silently through the stars. Jason sat alone in the cockpit, watching stardust trail across the windows like falling snow. The seat next to him was empty. Her blanket was still there, folded neatly, untouched. He hadn't moved it. Couldn't. He reached into his jacket and pulled out the small crystal, the last spark of Selah's light. It glowed faintly, warm in his hand, like her soul was still near. He kept it close to his chest. He had one mission now: find the truth. Tell the galaxy what they did to her. 3 days later, Jason arrived at Terran Outpost 17, a floating station near the human core systems. It was a place for explorers, ex-soldiers, and unwanted stories. He docked the ship and stepped out. His clothes were torn, his face tired. But his eyes burned with purpose. He walked into the station's data core center, an old human archive room filled with blinking screens and ancient memory drives. Dust covered everything. This place had been forgotten, just like Selah. He inserted the starseed core. The screen flickered. Then it began to speak. Subject: Selah. Starseed designation: Type IV. Energy potential: unlimited. Threat level: critical. Emotional instability: low. Intelligence: high. Suggested action: containment or termination. Jason's fists clenched. She wasn't a danger. She was a child. They treated her like a bomb. He dug deeper. One file led to another. Names, dates, hidden missions. Human scientists working with alien governments. A secret alliance to erase every child like her from existence. The starseed children weren't just rare. They were hunted, sold, tested, discarded, all with the stamp of Terran command. And worst of all, he found a name. A signature at the bottom of the file that authorized the destruction of Project Starseed. Commander Julius Hale. Jason's heart stopped. That was his father. Jason sat back, stunned. He had grown up thinking his father died a war hero. A noble man who fought for peace. A legend in Earth's military history. But here, buried in a forgotten file, was a different truth. His father didn't die fighting for freedom. He died covering up a genocide. Jason stared at the screen. Pain, anger, confusion, but also clarity. This wasn't just about Selah anymore. This was about everyone like her, hiding, alone, scared, waiting for someone to listen, someone to care. He left the station that night. No more hiding. No more running. Jason sent out a signal on an open galactic frequency. It was dangerous, bold, stupid, but necessary. His message was simple. To anyone who can hear me, I am Jason Hale. I have proof that Project Starseed was real. I met one of them. Her name was Selah. She wasn't a weapon. She was hope. And we killed her. If you are like her, if you're different, if they told you that you're wrong, you are not alone. I will fight for you now. Come find me. He pressed send. The galaxy went silent. Then it erupted. The message spread faster than he could imagine. Across star systems, through spaceports, into hidden networks and outlaw channels. Some mocked him. Some called him a traitor. But others believed. Messages poured in. My daughter glows in the dark. I thought she was cursed. My brother disappeared after the military tested his blood. I'm one of them. I've been hiding for years. Where do I go? Jason sat in his tiny ship, reading each one, tears rolling down his face. Selah had died. But her story was waking others. She was changing the galaxy, even in death. But not everyone was happy. Terran Command issued a warrant for Jason's arrest. They labeled him a galactic terrorist. The same people who hid the Starseed project now called him a liar. They hired bounty hunters, sent drones, paid off news channels to discredit him. But it didn't stop him. Jason went dark. He used old smuggler routes. He met rebels, hackers, outcasts, people who didn't trust governments, but saw the truth in his eyes. He built a network, a secret group called the Listeners. Their job: find every Starseed child, protect them, raise them in light, not chains. Then one night, deep in a jungle moon, Jason received a strange message. It was encrypted. Old Starseed code. Only Selah would know it. He opened the file. It was a video. Grainy, but clear. A young girl, glowing faintly, standing in front of a cave. Are you the one who talked about her? She asked. The girl with the light. Jason leaned in. Yes, he whispered. That was Selah. The girl smiled. I saw her once, in a dream. She said you'd come. Jason's mission changed again. He wasn't just looking for stories. He was finding a family Selah never knew she had. One by one, the Starseed children came out of the shadows. Scared, hurt, but not alone anymore. And Jason became their shield. He wore her crystal around his neck now, not just as a reminder, but as a promise. They tried to silence her, erase her, break her, but she became a legend. And Jason, he became the man who listened. The battle for hope. The night sky above planet Aluris shimmered with strange colors. Blue waves, green halos, golden sparks moving like rivers of light. It wasn't natural. It was them. The Starseed children were coming. For the first time in history, they weren't hiding. They weren't running. They were answering a call. Jason Hale stood on the edge of the canyon, a long coat flapping in the wind, the glowing crystal of Selah around his neck. Behind him, the hidden village they had built over the past 2 months was coming alive with energy. Children trained in silence. Teens practiced with glowing spheres, lifting rocks without touching them, bending air, shaping fire. They weren't weapons. They were hope. And they were ready. Jason's voice echoed across the canyon as he spoke to them. We're not fighting to win a war. He looked each of them in the eyes. We're fighting to be seen, to be heard. He paused. To show the galaxy that what they called a curse was always a gift. A small boy raised his hand. Will they try to hurt us again? Jason knelt beside him. They'll try, he said, but we'll show them what strength really looks like. The boy nodded and held out his palm. A small glowing butterfly of light appeared and danced in the air. Jason smiled. You see, that's not a weapon. That's beauty. Later that night, the stars blinked. Not naturally. Jason saw it first, on the sky scanners. Dozens of ships, coming fast, black and red. Terran Command. The same ones who had locked Soila away. The same ones who now wanted to destroy the children she had saved. They're here, Jason whispered. The command center in the village went silent. Then the oldest starseed, an 18-year-old girl named Myra, stepped forward. She had glowing silver hair and could bend sound waves. What do we do? She asked. Jason looked at the screens. We don't hide, he said. We show them who we are. By morning, the sky was covered with warships. Terran soldiers in black armor dropped from the clouds. Tanks rolled across the plains. Drones filled the sky like metal bees. They came with fear in their hearts. But they were about to meet something far stronger. Belief. The first strike hit the outer forest. Fire exploded in every direction. But the forest didn't burn. A starseed boy stepped forward, arms out. Flames touched his skin and vanished. He bent the fire into a ring of protection. Another girl floated above the ground, using light to reflect the drone lasers back at them. The battle had begun. But it wasn't like any war before. The starseed children didn't attack to kill. They stopped, redirected, protected, confused their enemies. They weren't fighting with hate. They were fighting with control, heart, and truth. Jason ran through the battlefield, giving orders, guiding groups, lifting fallen kids, helping one girl who was crying from fear. It's okay, he said gently. Courage doesn't mean you're not afraid. It means you go forward anyway. She nodded, wiped her tears, and stood up. A drone spotted Jason from the sky and fired. He braced for the hit. But just before the blast reached him, time slowed. The air rippled. The blast froze in place, then shattered into sparks. Jason turned. His heart nearly stopped. Standing in the middle of the battlefield, wrapped in light, was Soila. Her hair floated in the air. Her eyes glowed like twin suns. She was alive. Jason fell to his knees, tears streaming down his face. How? He whispered. She smiled softly. You carried me when I couldn't walk. You spoke when I had no voice, and you believed when no one else did. She touched the crystal around his neck. I was never gone, just waiting for the right moment. She turned to face the battlefield, and she rose into the sky. The Terran army paused. Every screen, every scanner, every soldier's visor. Soila's face appeared. She spoke calmly, clearly. You feared me. You chained me. You buried my light. But I didn't die. I became something more. And now, I am not alone. Behind her, the starseed children rose. A wall of light, color, and power. The commanders of the Terran army tried to give orders. But their soldiers hesitated. They saw children. Not monsters. Not threats. Just children. Brave, strong, glowing with something more than power. Purpose. Jason stepped forward, standing beside Soila. He held up his hands. No more war, he shouted. No more fear. He opened the files, broadcasted every secret, every name, every order that had led to Project Starseed's betrayal. The truth couldn't be hidden anymore. Back on Earth, people watched. Parents who had lost their glowing children. Brothers, sisters, scientists who had walked away in shame. Now they saw what had been hidden, and they wept. On the battlefield, the Terran commanders stood down. One by one, the ships turned. Soldiers lowered their weapons. Drones powered off. Not because they were defeated, but because they understood. That evening, the wind on Illyris was soft. The sun set in golden waves across the hills. Children laughed again. Not in fear, but in freedom. Selah stood quietly, watching the stars. Jason walked up beside her. "So, what now?" he asked. She smiled, her eyes filled with peace. "Now we begin." Epilogue. Years later, the Galactic Accord passed a law. All sentient life, no matter how different, has the right to exist in peace. The world called them the Children of Light. And Jason Hale, he never stopped listening. He became a guardian, a storyteller, the man who heard a whisper in the dark and answered. One human changed everything. Years passed. The warships rusted. The battlefield on planet Illyris turned green again, covered with grass, trees, and flowers that glowed under the stars. But the memory of that day never faded. The day the world watched a girl of light rise into the sky. The day the world realized what it had done to its own children. The day one human changed everything. Jason Hale stood at the edge of the rebuilt village, now called Sanctuary 1. It was no longer hidden, no longer afraid. Children played in the fields, children with glowing eyes, shimmering skin, and soft auras that danced in the air. Some floated, some sang without sound, some shaped the wind like music. They were starseed, and they were free. Jason was older now. Gray streaks lined his hair. His jacket was patched, worn, but his heart had never been stronger. Around his neck still hung Shelah's crystal, now glowing with soft, steady light, not a fading memory, a living spark. He wore it as a symbol of what she gave him, and what she gave the galaxy. In the center of Sanctuary 1 stood a tall silver statue. It showed a young girl, arms lifted toward the sky, surrounded by children of every race and species. At the base were 4 simple words. She was not a monster. People came from all over the galaxy to see it. Some cried. Some knelt. All left changed. Jason became a speaker, not a soldier. He didn't talk about battles or powers or politics. He talked about listening, about seeing people for who they really are, about what happens when fear turns into compassion. He visited over 100 planets. He held the hands of frightened parents whose children had been born glowing. He whispered the same words to each one. They are not broken. They are beautiful. But peace was not perfect. There were still those who feared the starseed children, still those who wanted power more than unity. One day, at a galactic conference, a government official stood up and said, "These children are dangerous. What if they grow stronger than us? What if they rise against us?" Jason stood slowly. He walked to the center of the great room, and he said softly, "Then teach them peace. Listen to them. Love them. Because the only thing stronger than fear is hope." The room went quiet. Even those who disagreed could not speak against a man who had once risked everything for a girl they had all abandoned. Then came a surprise that changed everything again. It happened one quiet morning in Sanctuary 1. Jason was walking through the gardens when he heard a sound he hadn't heard in years. A familiar hum, a soft breeze that wasn't wind. He turned. A portal had opened in the center of the garden. And from it, Selah stepped out. She looked older now, wiser. Her glow was softer, but deeper. She wasn't just a starseed girl anymore. She had become something more. A guardian of light, a protector between worlds. Jason stood frozen. "Selah," she smiled gently. "You kept your promise." He stepped forward, tears in his eyes. "You came back." "I never left," she whispered, placing a hand on the crystal he still wore. "It was always me, guiding you." The children gathered around, drawn to her presence like sunlight. Some had seen her in dreams. Some had heard her voice during hard times. And now she was here, real, standing in front of them. She looked at them all and said, "You are not accidents. You are not mistakes. You are not threats. You are the bridge between stars. You are light in dark places, and it is time the galaxy learns from you." Jason watched her speak to the next generation, and he realized something. He wasn't the hero. He had only done what every person should do. He had listened, and in doing so, he had given someone like Selah the strength to change the world. Later that night, Selah and Jason sat beside the fire like they used to years ago. The stars sparkled above them. "I thought I lost you," he said. She looked at him with warm eyes. "You never did," she said. "You carried me in your voice, your mission, your hope." He chuckled. "Funny. I thought you were the miracle." "I was," she replied. "But so were you." They sat in silence. Not awkward. Not empty. Just peaceful. Because some bonds don't break. Some souls don't fade. And some humans change everything. Epilogue. The starseed children became teachers, leaders, healers, artists. They didn't conquer the galaxy. They healed it. Galactic governments rewrote laws. Old prisons were shut down. New schools were opened, where light-bending kids sat beside normal kids and learned together. Fear began to die. And in its place, wonder was born. As for Jason Hale, he never called himself a hero. But in every corner of the galaxy, people told the story of the man who listened. The man who saw a girl in chains and set her free.